please hit that subscribe button.
Hey everybody.
Better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody. So today I want to talk about someone who I think is probably the most interesting free agent coming up this offseason in the 2020 free agent class. Someone who has had a very interesting and up and down NHL career, but not up and down, like this, like a roller coaster, but more of up, big down, and then coming back up again. And that is defenseman Kevin Shattenkirk, and I think he is the most interesting guy that I am looking at as a free agent this summer, as to having no clue where he's going to go, what kind of contract he's going to get, and how good of a player is he going to be going forward. But before we start looking ahead with Kevin Shattenkirk, we have to look back, because the Kevin Shattenkirk story is a very interesting one. He was drafted by Colorado, came into the league with the Avalanche, and then was quickly part of a blockbuster deal that sent him to the St. Louis Blues. And he, in St. Louis, became a very, very good defenseman. A very, very good defenseman with the St. Louis Blues. Consistent 40-point guy. Easily a quality number 3. Now, I never thought that Kevin Shattenkirk was the right fit as a top pair defenseman. Now, he certainly could play. He was never a number 1. I guess you could certainly make a case that he could be a very good number 2. I always thought Kevin Shattenkirk was best slotted as a number 3 D-man. You wanted him to be the anchor of your second D pair, and he could play on the second power play unit, and he could kill penalties. I mean, he's a very good two-way all-around defenseman, but I never really saw him as a number 1 top guy. I think he was best suited on the second pair. And for much of his time in St. Louis, he was on the second pair, and he had some extremely, extremely good years. Again, consistently over 40 points with the Blues. A plus player for most of his time in St. Louis. He a really good defenseman. And then in 2016-17, he got traded at the deadline to the Washington Capitals. And this is where things started to go wrong for Kevin Shattenkirk, as he was a upcoming free agent. And St. Louis wasn't re-signing him, couldn't afford to keep him, so they traded him to Washington. And he actually wasn't bad for the Washington Capitals. When I was just remembering back on this, I thought he was bad with the Capitals and the Rangers, but he wasn't bad with Washington. He actually had 14 points in 19 games with the Caps to end that regular season, and then obviously he went into the playoffs with them, and he actually wasn't too bad in the playoffs either. He had 6 points in 13 games. So he actually played pretty well with the Washington Capitals. But he was a free agent the next summer, and he signed a massive contract with the New York Rangers. And this is where things completely fell apart for Kevin Shattenkirk. I mean, his career got completely derailed with the Rangers. He was horrible. For whatever reason, he was just absolutely horrible with the New York Rangers. His first year in New York, he was limited to just 46 games. Obviously, had injury problems that year. He was minus 14. He only had 23 points on the season. Complete disaster of a first season, but you could kind of blame that on the injuries. So, I think the Rangers were still holding out hope that this could work out. 2018-19 with the New York Rangers. He played almost the full season, 73 games, only 2 goals and 26 assists for 28 points on the year, and a minus 15 on the season. Another horrendous season, not living up even close to the big contract that he signed with the New York Rangers. And the Rangers saw the writing on the wall. This was not going to work out, and they cut him loose. He was done, buyout, done, see you, bye-bye Shattenkirk. So Kevin Shattenkirk, before this past season, is now a free agent, and his career has been completely derailed. Remember, back with St. Louis, he was consistently a 40 points per season player. He was a clear-cut number 3, great number 3 in the NHL. Could be a very good number 2 as well. and then he went to Washington and actually played pretty well. But his time with the Rangers was a utter disaster, absolute complete disaster, and his career really just collapsed. And there was a chance. I thought after the Rangers debacle, I thought there was a possibility that he could be done at the NHL level. Certainly wasn't going to get another big contract. He certainly wasn't going to be a top guy anymore. But I thought there was a chance that no one would even want him and that he could be done at the NHL level. Now, that wasn't the case. And he played this season with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And this is where things are now coming back up because Kevin Shattenkirk had a fantastic bounce-back season this year with the Tampa Bay Lightning, playing 70 games, scoring 8 goals, the most he's scored since 2016-17. His last year at St. Louis, where he was traded to Washington. He had 34 points this year, the most he's had since 2016-17, and he was a plus 22, which is the best plus minus rating he's had in a season since 20. Nope, never mind. I'm looking at his stats right now. That's the best plus minus rating he's ever had in a season is plus 22. So he had a massive bounce back year this year with the Tampa Bay Lightning and kind of a career-saving year this year with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And he did it on a 1-year contract at $1.75 million. This was a guy who is going to be making over $7 million per season. Now played on a 1-year, $1.75 million contract to try and save his career. And he did just that with Tampa Bay. 34 points, plus 22 in 70 games. Outstanding. Now, again, Tampa Bay has McDonough. Tampa Bay has Victor Hedman. So the pressure was kind of off of Shattenkirk, whereas when he went to the New York Rangers, he was expected to be that top guy, that elite number one, which he's really not, and he never has been. He goes to Tampa Bay, he slides back into a number 3, number 4 type role, and he has a bounce back year and has another great season. So that brings us to where we're at now, where he's became a good defenseman, completely fell off the face of the earth with the Rangers, and now has had a good bounce back season and is coming back up again, and he's once again a free agent. So that leaves us to what is going to happen this summer with Kevin Shattenkirk, and this I think is what makes him so interesting this year is what kind of contract is Kevin Shattenkirk going to get? Is he going to get another 1 or 2 year deal? Or at 31 years old, he's still got some time left, assuming he continues to play the way that he did this season and not the way that he did with the New York Rangers. Does someone give him a 4 or 5 year deal? Does someone say, all right, Shattenkirk's back, give him a 4-year deal, give him a 5-year deal, we'll see what happens? I mean, there's definitely going to be a market out there. Also, how much money is he going to get? He was a guy who was going to be, one of those $6.5-7+ million per season defensemen when he was thought of as kind of a top guy. I think now he's not. He played last season on less than $2 million deal. Is he going to get another contract? He's definitely going to get a raise. He's going to get a raise over what he played for this season. He's also not going to stay in Tampa Bay because they do not have the cap space to sign him again. But is he going to get like a $3 million per season contract? Is his AAV going to go to 3? Or is AAV going to go to 5? I guess the big question is someone going to take a chance on Kevin Shattenkirk to be, a top pair defenseman, or at least a top 3 defenseman again? Is someone going to go out there and give him $5 million per season, $5.5 million per season, or a team's going to be more cautious and want to give him around 3.5? Is someone going to go out there and give him a 4 or 5 year deal, or a team's going to be more cautious and give him a 1 or 2 year deal again like he played on this season? And also, where is he going to go? That's a very interesting topic because this is a guy that I think teams that are looking for defense are going to be heavily into, especially if Torrey Krug stays in Boston or if Alex Pietrangelo stays in St. Louis. Shattenkirk is one of those guys that, when you get past Krug and Pietrangelo as far as the top free agent defenseman, Shattenkirk's like the next guy in line, I would say, looking at these pending UFAs in 2020. So that obviously adds a whole new dimension to this as well, is that there are going to be teams out there looking for defense. And if you can't get Pietrangelo or Krug, Shattenkirk's kind of the guy just sitting there. So, I mean, I would think that, Montreal would certainly be a team that would be maybe willing to give him more money than other teams. Edmonton, if they could fit him under the cap, maybe they can get him to sign a lesser deal, he could be a really good fit with the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, your bottom teams are going to always be looking to improve. I just don't know if he would want to go to a team like that. There's options out there. Maybe Florida. What about Florida? Especially if they lose Hoffman and Dadonov to free agency, or even if they just lose one of those guys to free agency, they need defense help. Maybe they bring in a defenseman with that cap space that opens up. Shattenkirk could go to Florida. I think there are some real possibilities here, and there's a lot of different possibilities here. It could be a short-term contract. Someone could give him 4 or 5 years. It could be low money like it was this year. It could be a $5.5 million per season contract. He could go to any number of different teams that are looking for defense help. Think going into this free agency, we know the big boys. We know the Pietrangelos, the Krugs, the Taylor Halls. Kevin Shattenkirk, in my mind, is the most interesting free agent to look at going into this offseason, just to figure out, what is going to happen with Kevin Shattenkirk, because he was so bad with the New York Rangers and his career was this close to being over, and then he had such a nice bounce back season with the Tampa Bay Lightning this year, where he actually looked like the St. Louis Blues Kevin Shattenkirk again, put up a good number of points, played well defensively, and just all around was a solid middle pair defenseman for the Tampa Bay Lightning. If he can continue to play like that, he is going to be worth a pretty decent contract. If he reverts back to New York Rangers, Kevin Shattenkirk, if he goes somewhere where he once again is put into a role that he's not fit for, or has to be a number one guy when he clearly isn't, then we could have another awful situation like we did with New York. So it's going to be really, really interesting in my mind to see what happens with Kevin Shattenkirk this year, this offseason, and what he does, what he looks like going forward, and what kind of contract he gets in free agency. But I just want to talk about him a little bit because it's a really interesting story, and it's still being written, and it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens with him this offseason after having such a big bounce back here with the Lightning. But with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.